Hello, and welcome to the Book Marketing Simplified podcast. I am Jen Hanson-dePaula.
And I'm Marcus-dePaula. I'm sure people have heard you say before that it's never too early to start growing your social media audience. That's pretty obvious.
Yes.
But how about when it comes to actually engaging your book marketing? When is the best time to actually start promoting your book? Is there an optimum time to start promoting what you're writing?
Yes, there is. And there are actually 3 phases to marketing that really give us parameters and an outline for us to follow so we know exactly when we should start talking about our book. So the first phase is what I call the attraction phase. And that phase begins the minute you start writing your book, and it goes until about 2 months before your book releases. This time frame is really when you are getting to know your ideal readers, when they are getting to know you, when you're creating that connection, and when you are sharing things that you're interested in, when you're getting to know what your readers are interested in. And it's just kind of that getting to know you time. It's not promotional centric. It is very relational. It's very personable. And I think this is a time when many authors glaze over. They just kind of sit back and they don't do anything on social media. And then once it does come time to promote, they have no one listening because they haven't set the stage for those connections. And so the attraction phase is really the longest phase because that is when you need to nurture those connections and really start to grow your platform.
That's what I was going to say, is it's essentially the growth period for you to build your audience through genuine interactions, through providing good content that you know that they want to hear from you.
Because it's a lot easier to sell to people who are already paying attention to what you have to say. And the attraction phase is getting people's attention.
Well, and you have given this analogy before of like you're at a cocktail party or think of a face-to-face interaction with somebody. You don't just go up to somebody immediately and say, buy my book or will you marry me? You have this getting to know you period.
It's a very important visual to have in your brain of that cocktail party because you don't go to cocktail parties to sell. You go there to connect. So the attraction phase is kind of that cocktail party setting where you're getting to know people and you're not promoting. You're engaging with your readers.
You're connecting with them on the things that you have in common.
Absolutely.
So what comes after the attraction phase?
So the attraction phase is followed by the promotional phase. And the promotional phase is about 2 months before the book releases until about 2 weeks after the book releases. And this is why it's important to have an actual release date. Many, especially self-published authors, ask, why do I need a date? It gives you a time to aim for, and it gives you, again, those parameters that you can wrap your marketing around. And really depending on what your promotional plan is, if you have a lot of things going on and if you have a lot of, promotional ideas, make sure that you give yourself time to not only set that up, but if you have beta readers or if you have a book launch team, giving them time to actually read your book so they can be ready to leave reviews. And so the promotional time is really when you are given permission to really promote the book and to market your book. Because when you have set up the attraction phase well, you're given more leniency on talking about your book a lot more because they know, okay, his or her book is coming out soon.
And this is what's going on in your life at
Absolutely,
that point.
Yes. And so having the attraction phase set up your promotional phase is very important. And again, the promotional phase is about roughly 2 months before the release date and about 2 weeks after the release date.
So then should every single post be promoting your book during that promotional phase period?
Good question, Marcus. No. You do need to sprinkle in more of those connection posts, sharing pictures of your dog, or, sharing a book that you've read that you really enjoyed, or talking about something else other than your book. Because if you're constantly talking about it all the time, it's going to drive people bonkers, and they're going to be like, oh, is this book out yet already? And you do want to build that anticipation, but you don't want to beat it to death either.
So then going back to that analogy of the cocktail party and the in-person social scenario, if you're constantly just talking about yourself and your work the whole time and dominating the conversation, that's not a way for people to engage with you.
It's very off-putting. Yeah. And so thinking about your ideal reader and even putting yourself in your ideal reader's shoes, if you go through your feed on social media and you only ever see people promote themselves, you're going to unfollow them. You're not going to want to engage with them because you're not engaging with your readers. So keeping that in mind, if you are annoyed by seeing a bunch of promotions in your feed, so are your readers.
All right, so we've made it through the promotional phase. The book is out. Sales are going well, hopefully.
Yes.
And what do we do now? Now we've spent all this energy getting prepared for this big launch day, and the launch day has come and gone. What's the next phase?
I think that this final phase, which is called the follow-up phase, is one of the most overlooked phases in publishing because we put so much focus on that release date. And this has been brought on by publishers because they understandably have so many authors that they have to work with that they are only able to focus on a particular author for 3 months at a time.
So pretty much just the promotional phase.
Just the promotional phase. So they're leaning very heavily on you to attract your audience and to follow up.
Right.
And so with the follow-up phase, this is where you're going to make the bulk of your sales, is after your release date. And if you don't have a plan in order to continue to talk about your book, to have continued promotions sprinkled in, it's not all the time. It's maybe doing a promotion once every 2 months, maybe doing a giveaway on Goodreads, or doing a special price promotion on BookBub. Maybe it's doing a giveaway, maybe, or a contest, something like that, where you sprinkle that through and you continue to talk about your book with your audience, and you continue to drive attention to what your book talks about, just so it doesn't lose steam and so you don't lose their attention. Because just because you're ready to sell doesn't mean your readers are automatically ready to buy.
Right.
So you want to stay at the forefront of their mind so that when they are ready to buy, they think about you and your book.
Well, and if this is your first book, or if you have multiple books out, but you don't have this massive audience and you're working on growing your audience now, which it's never too late to start growing your audience, you have to keep in mind that that launch day sales number is probably not going to be super high. And so this follow-up phase is really where the magic is going to happen as people build their trust in you and get to know you better and see the response that other people are giving to the book.
And many authors just move on to the next book after that initial book is released. You still need to pay attention to that book and continue to talk about it. So that's why the follow-up phase is so important.
So related to that, we get questions from authors. Does this apply differently to you if you are traditionally published and working with a publishing company who has a marketing team? Or how is this different if you're just self-published?
The only difference for a self-published author is that there's going to be more on your plate. Because with the publishing company, they might facilitate some things, maybe even paying for some promotions. But with a self-published author, you might need to accumulate a team or to get some help in facilitating these things. So that's the biggest difference. But the approach is exactly the same.
Because you've worked with publishing companies just as much as you've worked with independent authors.
Yes.
doing what you do. Even though the publishing company has a marketing team, they still hire you to actually take care of the day-to-day posting and stuff like that.
When you sign on to a traditional publisher, it doesn't relieve you completely of those responsibilities.
And that's a myth that a lot of authors buy into.
Very much so. Even just a couple weeks ago, I was talking with an author who was really disappointed in what was on her publisher's plate as opposed to what was on hers. Mm-hmm. She had so much to do, and that was just a big misconception. And it's something that you need to be aware of. I think awareness is one of the biggest things, of being aware of what phase you're in and how you need to either communicate with your audience or how you need to promote. And so just the awareness of those 3 phases is really key.
And it's figuring out what's actually doable for you. And
Yes.
we have so many resources on our website, mixedusmedia.com, that we provided for authors so that they can figure out what works best for them and not feeling overwhelmed. That's our whole thing, is to make this doable for authors.
Absolutely. And we also provide coaching services, one-on-one coaching and even group coaching. So if you do need more help, we're here for you.
So in other news, we got a fun email this week.
Yes, we were named one of the top 25 book marketing podcasts by FeedSpot, and we were just thrilled to see that. We were number 4.
Yeah.
Yes, so woohoo. Thank you for your support and for listening. And thank you to FeedSpot for your nomination and for your continued help in getting great podcasts out there.
So we'll have links to that list in the show notes for this episode, along with a link to the blog post that you wrote on this same topic.
Yes. As always, if you have questions, let us know. Follow us on social media, subscribe to our newsletter, and stay in touch.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.